Hey everybody, we're going to finish up chapter 10. There was a laurel-hedged walk which curved around the secret garden and ended at a gate which opened into a wood in the park. She thought she would slip around this walk and look into the wood and see if there were any rabbits hopping about. She enjoyed the skipping very much, and when she reached the little gate, she opened it and went through because she heard a low, peculiar whistling sound and wanted to find out what it was. It was a very strange thing indeed. She quite caught her breath as she stopped to look at it. A boy was sitting under a tree with his back against it, playing a rough wooden pipe. He was a funny-looking boy, about 12. He looked very clean, and his nose turned up, and his cheeks were as red as poppies, and never had Mistress Mary seen such round and such blue eyes in any boy's face. And on the trunk of the tree he leaned against, a brown squirrel was clinging and watching him, and from behind a bush a nearby cock pheasant was delicately stretching his neck to peep out, and quite near him were 2 rabbits sitting up and sniffing with tremulous noses, and actually it appeared as if they were all drawing near to watch him and listen to the strange low call his pipe seemed to make. When he saw Mary, he held up his hand and spoke to her in a voice almost as low and as rather like his piping. "Don't thou move," he said. "It'd fright him." Mary remained motionless. He stopped playing his pipe and began to rise from the ground. He moved so slowly that it scarcely seemed as though he were moving at all. But at last he stood on his feet, and then the squirrel scampered back up into the branches of his tree, the pheasant withdrew his head, and the rabbits dropped on all fours and began to hop away, though not at all as if they were frightened. "I'm Dickon," the boy said. "I know thou'rt Mary." Then Mary realized that somehow she had known at first that he was Dickon. Who else could have been charming rabbits and pheasants as the natives charm snakes in India? He had a wide, red, curving mouth, and his smile spread all over his face. "I got up slow," he explained, "'cause if tha makes a quick move, it startles 'em. A body has to move gentle and slow when the wild things is about." He did not speak to her as if they had never seen each other before, but as if he knew her quite well. Mary knew nothing about boys, and she spoke to him a little stiffly because she felt rather shy. "Did you get Martha's letter?" she asked. He nodded curtly, his curly, rust-colored head. "That's why I come." He stopped to pick up something which had been laying on the ground beside him when he piped. "I've got the garden tools. There's a little spade and rake and fork and hoe. They are good uns. There's a trowel, too, and the woman in the shop threw in a packet of white poppy and one a blue larkspur when I brought the other seeds." "Will you show the seeds to me?" Mary said. She wished she could talk as he did. His speech was so quick and easy. It sounded as if he liked her and was not the least afraid she would not like him, though he was only a common moor boy in patched clothes with a funny face and a rough, rusty-colored head. As she came closer to him, she noticed that there was a clean, fresh scent of heather and grass and leaves about him, almost as if he were made of them. She liked it very much, and when she looked into his funny face with the red cheeks and round blue eyes, she forgot that she had felt shy. "Let us sit down on this log and look at them," she said. They sat down, and he took a clumsy little brown paper package out of his coat pocket. He untied the string, and inside there were ever so many neater and smaller packages with a picture of a flower on each one. "There's a lot of mignonette and poppies," he said. "Mignonette's the sweetest smelling thing as grows, and it'll grow wherever you cast it, same as poppies will. Them as'll come up and bloom as you wish'll at 'em. Them's the nicest of all." He stopped and turned his head quickly, his poppy cheeks and face lighting up. "Where's that robin as is calling us?" he said. The chirp came from a thick holly bush, bright with scarlet berries, and Mary thought she knew whose it was. "Is it really calling us?" she asked. "Aye," said Dickon, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "He's calling some of his friends with. That's the same as saying, 'Here I am. Look at me. I wants a bit of a chat. There he is in the bush. Whose is he? He's Ben Weatherstaff's, but I think he knows me a little, answered Mary. Aye, he knows thee, said Dickon in his low voice again, and he likes thee. He's took thee on. He'll tell me all about thee in a minute. He moved quite close to the bush with the slow movement Mary had noticed before, and then he made a sound almost like the robin's own twitter. The robin listened a few seconds, intently, and then answered quite as if he were replying to a question. Aye, he's a friend of yours, chuckled Dickon. Do you think he is? Cried Mary eagerly. She did so want to know. Do you think he really likes me? He wouldn't have come near thee if he didn't, answered Dickon. Birds are rare choosers, and a robin can flout a body worse than a man. See, he's making up to thee now. Canna thou see a chap? He's saying. And it really seemed as if it must be true. He so sidled and twittered and tittled as he hopped on his bush. Do you understand everything the birds say? Said Mary. Dickon's grin spread until he seemed all wide, red, curving mouth, and he rubbed his rough head. I think I do, and they think I do, he said. I've lived on the moor with 'em so long. I've watched 'em break shell and come out of fledge and learn to fly and begin to sing till I think I'm one of 'em. Sometimes I think perhaps I'm a bird, or a fox, or a rabbit, or a squirrel, or even a beetle, and I don't know it. He laughed and came back to the log and began to talk about the flower seeds again. He told her what they looked like when they were flowers, and he told her how to plant them and watch them and feed them and water them. See here, he said suddenly, turning round to look at her. I'll plant these myself. Where is the garden? There's a picture. I don't know that you can see it, but see, there's Dickon and Mary. Mary's thin hands clutched each other as they lay on her lap. She did not know what to say, so for a whole minute she said nothing. She had never thought of this. She felt miserable, and she felt as if she went red and then pale. There's got a bit of garden, hasn't there? Dickon said. It was true that she had turned red and then pale. Dickon saw her do it, and as she still said nothing, he began to be puzzled. Wouldn't they give thee a bit? He asked. Hasn't thou got any yet? She held her hands tighter and turned her eyes toward him. I don't know anything about boys, she said slowly. Could you keep a secret if I told you one? It's a great secret. I don't know what I should do if anyone found out. I believe I should die, she said the last sentence quite fiercely. Dickon looked more puzzled than ever and even rubbed his hand over his rough head again. But he answered quite good-humoredly, I'm keeping secrets all the time, he said. If I couldn't keep secrets from the other lads, secrets about foxes' cubs and birds' nests and wild things' holes, there'd be naught safe in the moor. I can keep secrets. Mistress Mary did not mean to put out her hand and clutch his sleeve, but she did. I've stolen a garden, she said very fast. It isn't mine. It isn't anybody's. Nobody wants it. Nobody cares for it. Nobody ever goes into it. Perhaps everything's dead in it already. I don't know. She began to feel hot and as contrary as she had ever felt in her life. I don't care. I don't care. Nobody has any right to take it from me when I care about it, and they don't. They're letting it die, all shut in by itself. She ended passionately, and she threw her arms over her face and burst out crying. Poor little Mistress Mary. Dickon's curious blue eyes grew rounder and rounder. He said, drawing his exclamation out slowly, and the way he did it meant both wonder and sympathy. I've nothing to do, said Mary. Nothing belongs to me. I found it myself, and I've got into it myself. I was only just like the robin, and they wouldn't take it from a robin. Where is it? Said Dickon in a dropped voice. Mistress Mary got up from the log at once. She knew she felt contrary again, and obstinate, and she did not care at all. She was imperious and Indian, and at the same time hot and sorrowful. "Come with me and I'll show you," she said. She led him round the laurel path into the walk where the ivy grew so thickly. Dickon followed her with a queer, almost pitying look on his face. He felt as if he were being led to look at some strange bird's nest and must move softly. When she stepped to the wall and lifted the hanging ivy, he started. There was a door, and Mary pushed it slowly open, and they passed in together, and then Mary stood and waved her hand around defiantly. "It's this," she said. "It's a secret garden, and I'm the only one in the world who wants it to be alive." Dickon looked around and around about it, and round again. "Ah," he almost whispered, "it is a queer, pretty place. It's like as if a body was in a dream." And that is the end of chapter 10.